Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Never Repeat. Fucking hell, I've already messed up the intro. He's done it. You know what? That's staying in. It's really entertaining. Hello, this is the Never Eat Pears podcast. I'm the Nerdy Brit. How are we doing? So we're continuing reviewing the series with guests. I've already got my co-host today in stitches. Hello, Paul Astroshock. How are you doing?
I am very good. Thank you, James Nerdy Brit Skinner. Thank you very much. I really appreciate being here and being invited. I'm very sad somebody's already taken the Donna slot, but I expected as much. So
I think that slot went very quickly.
I expected it to.
So what we're going to do, just to start with, is we're just going to go through some fun little quick fire questions, just because why not? So I'm going to get you thinking here. So you really need to get your thinking cap on. So which Doctor actor? Well, then that was great. That was great. So which actor who has played an incarnation of the Doctor would you like to see play a different incarnation? So, for example, I think Christopher Eccleston could do a really interesting 12, for example.
That's the first thing that came to my head. Yeah, straight away.
But unfortunately, I've just said that answer, so you've got to think of a new creative one.
I do. I think I'd like to see Tennant do McGann, or I know we didn't have John Hurt for very long, and obviously McGann turns into John Hurt. I think McGann as John Hurt's Doctor, because a lot of people talked about that in the first place. Like, why get John Hurt when McGann was already there, and like you could have just made McGann's Doctor have this whole storyline which we didn't know about. So I think McGann's a definite for John Hurt, or maybe like I said, Matt Smith playing McGann. I'd like to see how Smith would tackle a more serious Doctor, but still a little bit quirky here and there.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting shout.
Obviously, the obvious one, I think, is 12 as 3, because Capaldi was brought up on Pertwee. So
as he should. John Pertwee is elite classic Who.
So I think I'd love to see Capaldi do Pertwee. I think that one would be very, very good. Okay. I suppose if we're going down that line, you could say Matt Smith could do what's his name? What's second Doctor? I forget his name now.
Patrick Troughton.
Yeah, I knew it was Patrick something. For some reason I wanted to say Patrick Stewart.
Which, to be fair, I wouldn't say no to him being the Doctor.
So I think 2 and 11 could afford to try each other's out. Obviously, one of them not being dead. And I don't know, maybe we could get 4 doing Smith or Tennant or both.
Very good answers. What is, in Modern Who, not necessarily your favourite season, because let's face it, we all know what your answer would be, but what is your favourite series arc? So the way a series gets tied together through a through line.
What, in series 2?
No, just this. Ignore series 2 for now. We'll get there. Right. So for example, you've got Bad Wolf being part of series 1. Yeah. The crack in series 5.
Bad Wolf went on for a long time, though, mind you. It went from Eccleston's first, and only, to Tennant's first season. It went on for a long time.
It's like how the crack in the wall kind of even appears throughout the Matt Smith era.
That was the next thing I was going. Honestly, the crack in the wall is top tier for me, almost, just because it was sort of leaked into every episode in some way. And I loved that. And then right at the end, you had this explosive ending. And then, the Pandorica going into the sun. It's just such a great image. What a phenomenal end to a season. I think the Pandorica, the crack in the wall is probably my favorite through line. Followed very closely by Bad Wolf, because, again, it went on for so long, but it did it brilliantly.
Fantastic choices.
Oh, man. Yeah. And then, I'm trying to think of another one. But I can't. You hear that?
Pardon?
Oh, you can't hear that. Okay. Basically, my mic has done noise cancelling. What I'd actually done just then is this.
Ah, right. Very nice. Oh, God. You must have a very posh mic if your mic can do noise cancelling. Wow.
No, it's not very posh. It just decides when it's noise cancelling.
That's a great. Just to be fair, generally like the Harold Saxon, like all those hints at season 3. That's another good example. I even think you could say a lot of like Rose in series 1, filtering through's nice. But yeah, I think you've given 2 very nice answers there. So next one, what episode would you show to a non-Doctor Who fan to get them into it? But you can only so you can't, for example, go, oh, watch Rose. If you liked Rose, keep going.
Yeah, I know. So I've done preparation on this question because Ryan asked me this the other day.
Yes.
My immediate answer was Voyage, because it's a fun Christmas special. It doesn't necessarily have to, be an incredible story, but it is. But
Voyage of the Damned is the best Christmas special by far. I love Voyage of the Damned.
It doesn't. It's everything a Doctor Who special should be, in my opinion. It's fun. It's serious. It has good characters, and then it has the Doctor Who despair ending. That's just so classic, and it was just so good for it. I think that's a hooker, really, a really good hook. And I think Donna's Partners in Crime episode, I think that's a very good hook. Although it might lean more on the comedy aspect, I think it depends who you're showing. I think Partners in Crime. If somebody's more on the lines of, I'm here for fun and an adventure, rather than, okay, this is serious. It depends who you're showing. If you want a serious episode where you get someone hooked, I'd show them Heaven Sent. But if you're with someone who's more along the lines for fun, I would have showed them Partners in Crime first. It depends, really. And then again, serious person, Doctor Dances, and the one before it, the
Empty Child.
The Child. I think the Doctor Dances is one of my favorite episodes. It really is.
It's class. It's such class. Yeah. So next question: which Doctor, and so which Doctor incarnation, and then which actor who's appeared in Doctor Who would you like to have a drink with?
Sorry, Sarah Jane. Or Clyde. Honestly, I think Clyde would be sick in a pub. I just think that would be fun. I think
just get that whole gang down. Get them all in. It'd be great. It'd be great.
Yeah. The character Captain Jack, that could be interesting. As well as trying to get him not to flirt with you. I think that would be very funny in a pub. Who else is there? Do you know what? I think it'd just be interesting to see. I know K9 can't drink, but it'd just be interesting to see what K9 would do in a pub. I'd be interested.
That'd be great. I'd pay to watch that. That'd be fantastic.
Who else is there? The Brigadier, maybe.
Class choice.
What's her name? The Doctor Who expert.
Doctor Who expert.
She wears glasses. She gets killed like twice.
Oh, Osgood.
Osgood, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. I had Oswin in my head. Why are they have two? Yeah.
By the time you've done 60 years of a show, there's a lot of similar names for us fans to process. Come on.
Yeah. True.
Come on. And finally, what character do you believe deserves an RTD2 spin-off the most? Went very presentary there. Don't know why.
Luke from the Sarah Jane Adventures, because I feel like he has such potential to carry, not like replace, right? This is that straight away, not replace Sarah Jane. There's no one on earth who could replace Sarah Jane, okay? It would just be a continuity and it would be his own thing. And if you bring Luke back, he has K9, and you have the opportunity to bring Clyde and Rani and Maria back, potentially Maria. I know she's off somewhere. I mean, Maria in herself is a spin-off with her dad in another country. I think you have the opportunity to do so many different characters. I mean, obviously the Doctor's daughter, but she's got a spin-off in Big Finish. I think she would be a great one to follow because then again, it's sort of like the original Doctor Who series. You go here, you go there. Oh, the Paternoster gang. That was supposed to get a spin-off, but they got cancelled, I believe. And I think there's a unit series coming now as well. I think that's a thing.
It looks like that's one of the more likely ones, just because we know RTD loves unit. We know that Gemma Redgrave is coming back, and that what I've said about a unit spin-off is it seems like it would be a good idea because I think it's a show that fits itself within the tone of Doctor Who, yet can tell different stories via the sciencey, yet also, let's be honest, slightly military aspect.
That's what I was just thinking, that their approach to aliens would be very different to the Doctor's. And if they do approach aliens in such a different, negative, perhaps negative way, it could then, in time, not straight away, I think it needs time to do it without the Doctor, but in time, it has the opportunity to link in like maybe a third season or a second season, where the Doctor comes and says, I know what you've done. I know that you've been killing aliens, doing this, that, and the other, and I don't agree with it, you know? There's that opportunity for that. And then there's also the opportunity, because in Jodie's season, right, obviously we had Unit disappear for a while and didn't really get the backstory on that until the last few episodes of Jodie's run?
Yeah.
And then we had the Grand Serpent introduced as well. I think if they're gonna do something like that again or continue the Grand Serpent, the Unit spin-off really would help that out. Because then you could be like, oh God, what's happening here? How did he get here? Well, you know what? Let me just go watch the Unit series. Oh, it all makes sense now. It all links together. Right, I see. That's how he got introduced. This is what Gemma Redgrave was doing in the meantime. This is what Osgood was doing in the meantime. But you have to watch the Unit series to find that out. I think that would be very good. I think it'd be very helpful.
I also think you make a good point in terms of like the way the Doctor can get involved, because obviously, you know, especially like Sarah Jane being the great example of the Doctor pops into Sarah Jane occasionally, and the Sarah Jane characters will occasionally pop into Doctor Who. That's the way RTD likes to have his spin-offs, where the two can like interlink. And Unit is a very good way for, obviously, pretty consistently throughout modern Who and classic Who, Unit pops in occasionally, and then I reckon you could have the Doctor pop in to the Unit spin-off occasionally. I think that could work quite well, and I think that's the way our beloved Russell likes to do his spin-offs.
I think last thing I'll say, because I get feeling you want to move on, but the last thing I'll say is I don't know if it's true, but I heard something along the lines of Captain Jack has gotten recast. And
it was vaguely rumored for a bit. First of all, obviously stupid idea. Second of all, I don't think they'd do it. I think whatever your opinion on the John Barrowman situation is, I think it's very, let's face it, the road forward is very clear in that having John Barrowman back in the show is probably at this point a bad PR move, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But recasting him is also a bad PR move. So therefore, the easiest way to go forward is just for him not to return.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'd be surprised if anyone is stupid enough to think that a recast would be the right way to go. If anything, for me personally, I think bringing John Barrowman back is more likely than a recast.
Fair enough. I had another idea in mind, but I completely forgot it. But no, you're probably bang on the money with that. I wanted to bring it up because I wanted to say a controversial opinion is that whoever gets recast as if they did do it, was like, obviously Torchwood's been done, right? Torchwood is done. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people would like it to continue, I think. But I think that's
I think I'd rather the show move. I don't think we necessarily need a Torchwood spin-off. I think it's had its time.
Yeah. Someone else I would have liked if me hadn't gone off with Clara in the diner, and again that's a spin-off in the Big Finish. I think I would have liked to have seen that town that me was running with Cybermen who had like defected and all those other aliens that were there. I think that would have been a good thing. And
cool.
another person who I'd love to have seen this person more, but we never saw them again. The episode, I struggle with episode names, but the episode that David Tennant goes to like that sand planet with the Thief.
Oh, the Easter special.
Yeah,
Oh,
with Lee Evans in it and whatnot.
yeah. You all know the one. Big flying grey creatures eating up a planet and making it
Flying
sandy.
bus.
The beautiful flying bus.
I would love to see her make a return in some way, even if it's not a spin-off, you know. I wouldn't mind seeing her character again, seeing how she's gotten on.
Choice.
I would like to see that.
Brilliant. Well, in that case, I would say we move on to, I would say, like highly regarded, but I actually think out of the Russell T Davies series 2 is the most controversial. I think that you ask people their opinion on series 2. I genuinely think you will get people that will say it's in their top 3. And you will get people that will put it very low on their list of series rankings. What do you think?
So it's not at the top, and again, it's not at the bottom for me. And this is purely because if you watch the first Eccleston episode, right? I know we're talking about season 2, but this will build up. Don't worry. I
trust you. Don't worry.
First Eccleston episode, right? It was a bit cheesy. You know, it had elements of the original classic Who, which was a little bit cheesy in itself. Like at some points you do, like some people do, some people don't, but you feel a little bit of cringiness, a little bit of awkwardness between the hands.
I'll have none of this. Series 1 is a cheesy masterpiece, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's bad for those reasons. I'm saying it was so cheesy, it held on to the classic. And then when they hit Tennant, season 2 was sort of let's dial down the cheese a little bit. And the first episode was still cheesy because it was obviously you had the Christmas special. And then you had the first episode, which was New Earth. And that was still a little bit cheesy, but it was serious. Like I said, it had the perfect balance that Doctor Who has of funny, serious, and cheese. And then I think that's what season 2 is. It's like that development out of the classic sort of approach to a new approach. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what it is. It's getting its legs for a new approach and this new element that made Voyage work so well.
Yeah, it's series 2 as a whole is definitely going away from cheese. I think if I was to summarize what a lot of people will say about series 2 is that there are a lot of people would argue there are a lot of duds. Like if I go through this, a lot of people don't like New Earth that much. Like
yeah.
You've obviously got Idiot's Lantern is pretty shit. You've got Love and Monsters and you've got Fear Her. But honestly, I'm going to summarize quite quickly, but obviously we're going to go into a lot more depth. First of all, not all of those episodes I think are that bad. I can personally, for example, watch Love and Monsters and have a lot of fun with Love and Monsters. And then there are a couple of, obviously, there are episodes like The Idiot's Lantern and Fear Her, which are just shite. But then you've also got some of Modern Who's best, like Impossible Planet, Satan's Pit, incredible. Rise Cybermen Age of Steel, incredible. School Reunion, class. Girl in the Fireplace, class. People honestly sleep on this season because of a couple of bad episodes. When for me, there is so much 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 Doctor Who here.
Yeah, the thing is, though, even in these episodes that you've named and listed as the worst, within those episodes, they have like shining moments of like beauty. Like using Idiot's Lantern as an example, I think like there's a few shining moments, but the one I'm going to pick out, right, is the moment where David shouts at the father, basically, and Rose sort of joins in because he's a misogynist. You know, like he's like, wife do this, wife do that. And don't get me wrong, it was the era within that time, but even then the Doctor did not care. He did not care whatsoever, and like he was like, no, No. You are equal. That's just one of the shining moments. I could have picked any shining moment in that. For example, like, the end where he's running, he's climbing up the tower and whatnot. I could have picked any shining moment from that episode. But for me, that little bit stood out in that episode. It's sort of like, there's just in these episodes that are even the worst, there's shining moments within them. And another way of looking at it is Love and Monsters, right? I don't like it either, right? I don't like Love and Monsters. But you know what? I've talked to so many people about the Absorbaloff. So much. I'm like, literally so many people that I've talked to all love that episode. They love the Absorbaloff. And I'm like,
I'm there. I'm genuinely there. Like, yes, the Absorbaloff element itself it's a bit naff, but I think the way that episode is structured, where you've got, it's told through Elton's perspective, and it's just filled to. I honestly think that is one of those episodes in which you asked me, for example, like which episode would you like to rewrite and like refilm and redirect? I would go for Love and Monsters, because I think at its core there is a complete and utter Doctor Who comedy in there, and I would love to like rework that and just like change a lot of the Absorbaloff elements. But I think there is a basis of a fantastic story in that.
It's the fact it's Peter Kay as well, and I got nothing against Peter Kay. It's just the fact that it's him that makes me laugh a little bit more. It's like, oh, of course it's you. And that's the thing. I'm not saying, oh, it's you. I'm saying, oh, it's you.
What would you say is, you don't have to limit yourself to one yet, but what is one of your favorite episodes of series 2?
Good job. I've got BBC iPlayer up right now.
I'm going to let you all into a little secret. That's how I'm flipping through the episodes going, what do I want to talk about? That's how I do it as well.
So School Reunion is a big one for me. Really like that.
Very glad. Let's discuss School Reunion for a sec, because obviously, like, I think, like you've mentioned, series 1 carries through quite a few tonal elements of classic Who, like, for example, with a lot of that, like, cheesiness. But when you have an episode like School of Reunion that pays homage to, let's be honest, the best and most famous classic companion, and does it in such an impressive yet emotional way, and has all those fun interactions with Rose, and then ignoring even the Sarah Jane elements, just all the school stuff and the Krillitane and the bloke from Merlin who's also fantastic. School Reunion, I cannot gush about School Reunion more, because I think it's quality.
Yeah, it is, yeah. I don't know what else to say. I just really like it. Again, it has that, it's that balance again, really, because like that moment where Sarah Jane sees the Doctor in front of the TARDIS in the Doctor gear, right? All of it, the whole lot, and he's just standing there plain face. There's almost an element of the fourth Doctor within the face that he's pulling, right? Because the fourth Doctor either did this, or he did, blank, like that sort of blank face. And that's what I saw in that moment. And then he just says, hello, Sarah Jane, sort of thing. And your heart melts. It really does. You see years and decades of emotion in both actors. The actors make that little moment again. And that's just one moment. The whole episode itself is a banger, really. And, K9. K9 at the end, he repairs K9. And it's like a goodbye gift. And then Sarah Jane starts. Let's go.
That is, let's be honest. I don't think people would look back on this episode quite as fondly if there wasn't then the Sarah Jane spinoff. I think that's obviously a big reason why people really resonate with this, because it's kind of a semi-pilot for the Sarah Jane adventures. But that doesn't necessarily take away from that episode. That only adds to it. The fact that we then get this whole universe of adventures with this character, but the fact that this feels like a great introduction in that world, like that's not a downside. That's a damned upside.
Agreed. What a sode. What an episode. Oh, that's all I can really say. I think that's enough said, really.
Even as I alluded to earlier, like I can't remember his. It's the headmaster at that at the school, and those conversations that him and the doctor have, and it's all the Krillitane. It's just chilling. It
Yeah,
really is.
there are points where you actually think the doctor might be persuaded as well. Like deep down inside, no, he won't. But there's like a little bit of you that actually thinks, oh, he's making a fairly good point, to the doctor. He's making a really good point.
It's that episode does just feel like powerhouse actors at their best doing their thing, and it's class.
It was good. It was good, man.
What are your other episode highlights of the series? What are those episodes that are making you go, bloody hell, Doctor Who's class?
Which one? It's a two-part episode, right?
I will let you get away with two-parters. That's all right.
Rise of the Cybermen and the Age of Steel, right? Whichever episode is the one with the Cyberman on the floor who's supposed to be getting married.
I think that's in Age of Steel.
And she says, I feel cold. I feel cold. Oh.
That is
There's
cold.
moments like that throughout Doctor Who, scattered, that scar you, or they touch you to the bone so much in a way that you've never really thought about it like that before. There's certain things that happen and you find yourself thinking, how the have I never thought that like that? It's like a rude awakening for you as an audience member and a viewer, and it's a rude awakening for the doctor as well and the companion. You never see that before, and she just fades away. This woman who was at the happiest point in her life, she was supposed to be getting married, and like it all, and she's dying, it's going down here, and it's heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching. Not to mention the mother. The mother gets Rose's mother in that universe gets turned into a Cyberman, a man, whatever, and yeah.
But to be fair, the Jackie Tyler of that universe did kind of deserve it. She was a knob.
Yeah, but come on, like she was the exact same as the other Jackie, in my opinion. It's just a different circumstance.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think
I can love one Jackie, but not two.
Exactly. I've only got my heart. I've only got my place with my heart for Series 1 Jackie. Sorry. In terms of because obviously this is the first Sideman episode of Modern Who, and there is a massive argument to be made that, and I think it's probably true, that the Sidemen haven't been done better since this. It's not like Dalek, I think, where people can have their favorite. Like, obviously, the first Dalek episode is a big favorite people, but people can argue what Dalek episode they like. Rise of Cyberman and Age of Steel is probably the best the Cybermen have been done in the modern era. They're creepy. I love the designs. I think it's just a proper metallic bit, all that good stuff. And they just feel like a threat and they feel scary. And that's what the Cybermen are supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. I think, like, do you know what? I've never really thought about it like that, but you're right. And we've got 2 minutes 30 left of this.
That's all right. That's all right. We'll do another one. We soldier on.
I think you are right. In all ongoing Cybermen episodes, right, there's comedy. A lot of comedy involving Cybermen. That scare factor or that tension, the tension levels surrounding them are never as high as they are in these two episodes for some reason. And it's not like they haven't actively tried to do it either. They have tried, but there seems to be more comedy surrounding Cybermen now than there ever was.
Yeah.
I think.
No, I know what you mean. I think it's what I've always found with the Sontarans, for example, is that you can, like, always, occasionally you want there to be bits of comedy, but now, through what we've done with things like Strax and even elements in, like, Flux, you turn these villains who can be big, scary, interesting threats, and eventually, I loved War of the Sontarans, but people looked at that episode and went, the Sontarans aren't quite this big, intimidating threat because we've had scenes with them as eating chocolate and as Strax, and it's like when you when you take a villain and you use them for comedy too much. I don't think the Cybermen have had this quite as much, but I think you catch my drift.
Threat level down the drain.
Yeah.
I
it makes
that.
this scary villain a lot less intimidating.
It makes this big intimidating figure a bit more mediocre at best.
Great link. So, Paul, within... Have some scrap. Enjoy. So, Paul, I think...
Chinese.
You have a little prawn cracker there. Well, I respect that. Welcome back, everyone. So I think you've skipped a bit of a banger there because you've gone from episode 3, School Reunion, to episode 5, Rise of the Cyberman, and episode 6, Age of Steel. You've forgotten the girl in the fireplace.
Oh. Really?
So you've forgotten Girl in the Fireplace, which I think is an absolute banger. It is a banger.
I've forgotten it. It's where you really truly see that Mickey does not matter anything to the Doctor at all.
Yeah, I think it works very well for like the arc of the series. Obviously, getting to the end of Age of Steel when Mickey decides, you know what, I'm good. But then I think also just in general, I think I've always been one of those people who've said Stephen Moffat did a lot of good as showrunner in his own era. But in terms of like average quality of a Stephen Moffat episode, his work under RTD is impeccable. Because I think because RTD a lot of the times wrote the more fun Doctor Who, the more silly Doctor Who. And I actually think occasionally inserting a more serious Stephen Moffat episode into RTD's run, such as Girl in the Fireplace, where you deal with a lot of the more sci-fi time travel elements, but also with a lot of like deep, rich emotions. Girl in the Fireplace is fantastic.
Yeah, agreed. The thing is with Moffat, don't get me wrong, RTD did do it, right? But the thing with Moffat is Moffat did his research, like a lot of it, like seriously, like he comes up with all these like scientific time traveling terms. And don't get me wrong, it's sort of what you expect. You expect people to do their research, but Moffat just always went that extra mile so that when he made a story as crazy as this, it made sense. It just made so much sense, and it just worked. I think that's what sets Moffat apart from a lot of people. People do research, and then Moffat does his research. It's like, what?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's just, I think, like the mix of like period elements, I think the love story that slowly builds, and just the use of time travel. Like, I think very quickly you buy into this fact of, yes, you're only really there on the spaceship to do all the time hopping things. It's definitely a means to an end. But when the end is so good, it justifies the means. Obviously, I've gone kind of around the hills with that metaphor a little bit, but you know what I mean.
And it's a heartbreaking ending too, because you know he wanted to wait with her the long way around.
Yeah, it was. You can also, because obviously David Tennant himself has always been described as the most human Doctor. And I think this also mixed with elements of Human Nature, Family of Blood, with obviously the idea that John Smith, the human version of the Doctor, would have happily spent his life with whatever her name is. It's very great. I think it shows a lot about Ten's Doctor, and it breaks your heart a wee bit. It really does.
It does. The question is posed throughout David Tennant's run of if he had a normal life. It's posed so many times. It's posed in this episode. It's posed in Family of Blood. It's posed with his twin, his clone, the Metacrisis Doctor. At so many points, it's the question posed of if the Doctor had a normal human life. And ultimately, in the long run, this is another story that arcs all the way to season 4. The answer ends up being, no, you can't have that. You can't have that, and you never will. That's sort of the answer that is given to the Doctor. And even though he doesn't accept it, he moves on. That's what the closest he'll get is that Metacrisis Doctor, and that's the closest he did get. I think at that point he learned, and that's why we got Matt Smith's Doctor, who was a development from Tennant's. And it sort of works in that sense. And it's really sad. It is really sad because, like I said, it is posed in every season that Tennant's in about him having a normal life. And it's not like he doesn't want one either. He does. But, at the same time, he might get bored. But, he does want one. It's like he can't touch it. The one thing out of his reach.
Yeah, I think it's an episode that is incredibly well paced. Girl in the Fireplace. It's one of those episodes that like you can see like obviously people can criticize sci-fi and whatever if like technical like filmmakers and people are looking for like episodes of Doctor Who to really study, this is one of them because it's pacing, the way it builds its story and just becomes so believable and so emotional by the end of it. And yet you also have very interesting elements, even obviously, the Clockwork Robots aren't exactly the most thrilling Doctor Who monster. They still work, and it's a great way of looking at Doctor Who in terms of having elements that serve the story, that build a story, and then you end up with the really emotional, heavy-hitting stuff that work well in a sci-fi storytelling format.
Honestly, I think you said about the Clockwork, the robots in there, yeah, right. I think the Clockwork robots are the thing that make it work, though, because not only are they a new enemy, right, they're not simply just robots either. They have a purpose, and we don't know the purpose. And that's another layer of the story, that it's a mystery that we solve as it goes on. And even at the end, we haven't really solved it, but we understand what they were doing there, but we don't understand their purpose or why they were there, really. Not really. And it's just really like, okay. I think that's what makes the story work even more, because there's a layer to peel back. Like, if it was the Daleks or the Cybermen, it'd be like, yeah, okay, cool. We know what these are. We know what they do. But with these guys, we didn't know. So it was another layer of the story we had to peel back. And despite them being, I guess, merciless, logical robots in sense of clockwork and whatnot, it was cool to discover that. It was cool to watch that unfold and see how these enemies work and see the Doctor actually figure them out. Because as the episode goes on, the Doctor learns more about these enemies, and then he uses what he learns against them, which is even better.
It's very, yeah, I think you're right. I think I haven't given the Clockwork droids enough credit there, because they work very well too. It's kind of like two mysteries. It's kind of like the Doctor's internal battle of, this is the mystery, this needs solving, but also the elements within the mystery that are more interesting to him than the mystery itself. And I've said mystery about 20 times in a single sentence, which is, it's great. It's great.
No, I'm sorry. I go on rant because
I love it.
I'm awful at explaining things, so I rant and hope somebody gets one thing out of that rant.
I honestly, I think, slight side note, it's just a great way of human communication, because then it just makes, instead of having everything be boring and filtered through, you just allow people to splodurgle and you get beautiful conversations out of it. And that's why this is it. And that's why we do it. That's why we do it, because we have beautiful waffly rants in the best way.
Yeah.
So going on to another, I think, class two-parter, because this, if you can say anything Series 2 did right, Series 2 did its two-parters right. An Impossible Planet and the Satan's Pit, class.
Oh, yeah.
It's just fantastic.
We get the ood leaking in. Here, we get them in.
This is, I like the Series 4 episode a lot, but this is like peak. Like, obviously, first appearance, just fully scary. Like, honestly, as a kid, like, I found the ood, and like they're designed, they're just so well designed. They fit the story really well. It all makes sense, and there are big stakes here because you feel like it's classic RTD to build up characters, make you care about them, and then
kill them all off.
and then kill them all off. let's face it, that's why Voyage of the Damned works so well. It's not because people are dying, it's because you care about said characters who are dying.
I mean, it's a classic Shakespeare trope, mate. It's a classic Shakespeare tragedy trope. You know, you build your characters and then you kill them all off.
God, I hate Shakespeare. That's right.
So do I. It's because I'm doing it right now in acting, and I could actually kill someone. I'm doing Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
I'm about to do a Shakespeare module, so I will also be very suicidal during that.
Most hated David Tennant episode. The Shakespeare episode. Hate it.
Oh,
absolutely hate it. No, I'm joking.
That's all right. So in terms of Impossible Planet Satan's Pit, I think it's it's classic Base Under Siege, and it's just great. It's quite, because you can define it under all of these formulas, such as Base Under Siege, such as building up characters and then killing them off, but it just does them to a T, and it has the mystery, and you've got literal the devil, and it does all these things, and I don't think I can point at this episode and go, oh my god, it did this element so well, but you just go, as a two-parter, it's just fantastically made from start to finish.
Yeah, you have no idea what's going on really the whole way through. And the biggest question of all is you find yourself asking, is the devil real? Is he not real? Is something else going on? Is this going on? You never really know. Even at the end, even though the episode's called The Devil's Pit, and even though everyone's actively calling it the devil, they're all still doubting whether or not it is the actual devil. They don't actually know.
I think in terms of, especially, this is one of those episodes where you go, this is a two-parter and fully deserves to be a two-parter and uses that completely to its strength. And I think this is a masterstroke in terms of learning how to build tension and keep that tension and always having an audience on its toes. And to be fair, having a couple of fun moments, but just being like dark yet fun, which for me is a perfect balance.
It was perfect as well. Because just think back to when it was releasing on TV, right? And that was a cliffhanger. That was a literal cliffhanger, to the point where you just sort of like, I really want to watch the next episode. Oh my god, it's coming up next week. Why can't it be out now? I need to know. That's what it was. Some cliffhangers, you're just sort of like, I know what'll happen. Oh well.
Kids these days didn't know what they have with Netflix going, oh yeah, I want to know what happens next. Oh, I'll just watch the next episode. Kids of our generation, we had to wait. We were like, oh, what? How's David going to get out of this? David is literally regenerating right in front of us, and the Dalek's about to murder Sarah Jane. What's going to happen?
Yeah. Oh my god. That was a mad cliffhanger. Oh, that was so good. That one got me at the time as well. I was there like,
how?
They're not about to kill her off now.
and you're literally there like, bloke's regenerating. You don't get out of that. How do you do it? And it's like this, because obviously we just generally don't get that many two-parters or like big cliffhangers like we did in this in the late 2000s, and it works to its favor, and it's an RTD masterstroke.
Yeah.
In terms of the other episodes, I think are worth highlighting as genuinely great. I don't think it's as good as the other Sideman two-parter, but Army of Ghosts Doomsday is very good. I think the Cult of Skaro works very well. I think that's class. I think more Sidemen is great, builds a mystery. You've got the world's most iconic interaction of Daleks and Sidemen, which has never been done before and might never get done again, which is class. And then you've got the emotions of Rose on the beach. So I think Doomsday, Army of Ghosts is pretty good. Doomsday is a very good finale.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
I think what helps Doomsday is out of the 4 RTD finales, it even still is slightly, but it's certainly the least Deus Ex Machina out of the 4. Because sometimes, let's face it, RTD writes himself into corners, and then his, sometimes his ways of fixing things are a little bit meh.
Pop out.
But then a mix of this being the least Deus Ex Machina and having a very, very emotional send-off for Rose, brings me a bit emotional just thinking about it.
And it did the beautiful thing of giving you the ending at the start, but then not doing what you thought it did at the start. So this is me, I'm Rose Tyler, and I'm dead. And I was just sort of like, the whole time you thought she was going to die, and it just threw it in your face and went, lol, she's only classed as dead. She's not dead.
Well enough. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. I think this is an important point, I'd say, to touch on for Series 2, is the controversy of David Tennant and Rose being in love.
Oh, God.
And I have to admit, I'm not as strong on it as everyone else is. Mainly because, and I've got to admit, it's my own personal bias, because I grew up with this and the other RTD series. I was more used to it just because it was all I ever knew, really, of Doctor Who for a couple of years. I have to admit, nowadays, I'm just not as fond of the Doctor. To me, I mean, I think Matt Smith even described, it's the idea that the Doctor love, but with a companion, it's a bit weird, isn't it? It's a bit weird.
Yeah, it adds stakes that we don't want anymore. At the time, I think it was something we wanted. I mean, older fans know. Older fans never wanted it. But at the time, I feel like this is just my experience. When I was younger, right? When I was younger, right? When I was younger watching these episodes, I just sort of accepted it. I mean, before we started recording this episode, I told you when I was younger what I thought of Rose. My original thoughts on Rose was, oh my God, I love Rose. She's my favorite companion. And then sort of as you grow up, you realize how much of a dick, a colossal dick she is. She's horrible to Mickey. She's horrible to other people. At times, she's really childish. And then she is a child, don't get me wrong. She's like 20, right? And it's just sort of like, oh, well, how did I like this character?
I know what you mean. I think people have slowly come to realize that Rose is certainly the most overrated companion. And I think for me, I think, for example, and I'm gonna continue to use this metaphor for as long as I die, because I love them. You don't need to be in love for there to be stakes. For example, the Doctor and Donna went through plenty of things and plenty of dramas, but you didn't necessarily need that for that to be the stakes.
Fires of Pompeii.
Fantastic shout.
Exactly. No, the stakes were high. Their tension was at each other, and yet they just started. They weren't even mates there. They were just starting.
So there's an extra person that's popped in, but we're gonna keep going because we're dead cool. So Paul, or is there any episodes that they're naff? They're not for you, because trust me, there are some I can pick out.
Yeah. So obviously we've already addressed the Absorbaloff episode. Honestly, Absorbaloff episode not for me in the slightest. Love and Monsters, not a fan. Really not a fan. Do you know what? Tooth and Claw. It's not like it's not for me. Wait, sorry. Hang on. Are we talking?
I quite like Tooth and Claw. I can't lie.
No. I'm not saying it's not for me. I'm just saying it's a great episode. It just doesn't stand out to me.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. In terms of like really bad episodes, let's be honest. Fear Her is as bad as it as everyone says. There's nothing new or particularly interesting I can say about Fear Her. It's just girl does some drawings and there's an Olympic flame. It's shit.
I like the ending. The ending image is pretty good.
Oh, I'll have none of it. It's shit. It's
I
solid
like
gold
it. I
shit.
like seeing the Doctor. Do you know what? I actually had to look. Do you know what? I was so stupid. I actually looked up. Did David Tennant hold the Olympic flame? I actually had a look.
That's poor from you. That's poor. I expect better.
I totally would have thought they would do that. Imagine if they did that for the British Olympic Games. They just followed through with it and let David Tennant run a mile in costume with the Olympic flame.
I remember when, this is a big side note, but I remember watching, just because our family decided, fuck it, we'll go to Taunton and see the Olympic flame getting carried. It just happened to be will.i.am that was doing it. So obviously it's supposed to just be like random people. And what had happened was will.i.am was doing a concert in Taunton and he was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll just carry the Olympic flame for a bit. So will.i.am just runs by with the Olympic flame and we're all there like, what the fuck? Why is the Black Eyed Peas bloke carrying the Olympic flame?
That's brilliant though. I love that. I love that from will.i.am.
It's great, but no, Fear Her's bad. I won't let you get away with that.
No, yeah, okay. Tooth and Claw is better than Fear Her. Yeah, I know. It's the reason I said Tooth and Claw though is only because it's actually kind of hard. This is actually kind of hard. Honestly, the weakest, yeah. I think Love and Monsters is the weakest. Then I would say Fear Her after that.
I actually think my answer for the weakest, even I think, is weaker than Fear Her.
Are you about to say Christmas Special? Because
no, because I love Runaway Bride. I'm going to say the Idiot's Lantern.
No, I meant the one that introduced David. Sorry.
No. I'll let that get away with it. The Idiot's Lantern is just awful. I know you've said it had a couple of good moments, but I wanted to circle back to that because the first half of the episode is fine, sets up a vaguely interesting mystery. It's still not very good. But then in the second half, just random woman inside a TV going, feed me. And you're there thinking, I'm a Doctor Who fan. I enjoy this stuff. But by God, you've pushed me to the limits here with a random woman having a scream.
To be fair, yeah, it goes back to what we said earlier. Granted, they had the aura of mystery on a new alien that we didn't know anything about. We didn't know what was going on. But then they didn't expand upon it. We didn't find out anything really about that alien. And they didn't really have much of a personality other than, I want to feed.
Which, to be fair, though, I get this. Scran is great.
The worst Doctor Who episode is, as someone who hasn't watched it in years, is the one with James Corden, simply for the fact it's got James Corden in it.
I respect the James Corden slander. I actually find both the James Corden episodes very watchable.
Yeah, I just can't stand James Corden. Like,
he is a knob.
I don't remember. Didn't he get turned into a Cyberman or something?
He did in one of them.
But he fought it back with pure emotion.
Yeah, that was a shite ending.
I accepted it because it was the father wins, as they say.
I'm James Corden. I want to see my child. I'm still not sure that's how Cybermen conversions work.
No, it's definitely not. It was they did it for the sake of it and being like, the father is powerful, you know? I think it was kind of like, we've spent this whole episode basically saying the Doctor's great, Corden's character is weak in comparison, and nowhere near as good. And then he does that, and it's like, oh, so you are, even though the Doctor can do a massacre on the football pitch and do all of this, you know, at the end of the day, it's a father's love that was stronger than all of it. And it's not because you're really skilled at football. It's not about everyday life. It's because of who you are, which is why the day was won. Not because of what you can do, but because of who you are.
Exactly.
Not the season we're on about.
Not the season. I love it. I love it. It's random. It's weird. It's wacky. It's what we bloody do. So, Paul, do you have any final thoughts on Doctor Who Series 2 that you'd like to share with us?
My final thoughts are exactly what I said earlier. I think that, you know, it was an exploration. Series 2, it's a great season in general because it helps to bring Doctor Who. It starts the climb of Doctor Who's popularity. So great. We love that. And it was the time where it started exploring what it could truly do in terms of fear factor, and how far it could go, how cheesy it could be. This was a very experimental series, I think, that explored its boundaries, and then season 2 explored a bit further. Sorry, season 3 explored a bit further, and then season 4 came out, and it knew where it was going. Okay,
Beautiful.
If we didn't have series 2, we wouldn't have series 4. That's just where I sit with it.
So, thank you very, very much for joining me on this Series 2 roller coaster of emotions. Obviously, we're going to plug the Astroshop channel. Lovely bit of gaming, couple of other bits. It's in the link in the description. It's in the card. Go watch that channel. It's class. It's such a good channel. I find myself on long, cold, lonely evenings watching a bit of Aftershock, so you should too, because you're all virgins. Thank you very much, and subscribe. I'll see you all later. Love you all. Mwah.